35 foreign hostages held captive at a gas field in Algeria have reportedly been killed in the operation to free them. 15 of the captors are also thought to have died. Some people are apparently still being held. The local media suggests Algerian forces attacked a convoy of kidnappers and captives from the air. Militants first attacked the complex on Wednesday, killing at least 2 of the staff and seizing dozens. The hostage takers were demanding an end to the French-led combat action against insurgents in neighbouring Mali. And there, the operation has intensified. French troops are now on the ground in support of a heavy air campaign against al-Qaeda-linked groups. The army's also received logistical support from its NATO allies, while the EU is preparing to send hundreds of military personnel to train the Malian army. Well, geopolitical analyst Patrick Henderson joins me now live from Beirut to discuss the prospects of the mission and the rising threat of retaliation attacks. Patrick, several dozen foreign workers were reportedly killed in Algeria. Why has this happened now, and who is most to blame, do you think?
Well, in the mainstream media will tell you in the short term that the Islamic Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb is to blame for this with regards to the hostage situation in Algeria. But what France and what your other news competitors like the BBC are neglecting to tell the world is that the Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb is working closely with the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, for whom France itself intervened on behalf of in NATO's intervention with the bombing in Libya, in their gallant raid of Libya in 2011. So Libya has become an Al-Qaeda playground, and that is mostly down to a Western-sponsored Al-Qaeda playground, if you look back just in the last 12 months.
So what now, Patrick? How do you deal with the consequence of what you see as a mistake with that Libyan intervention? How do you deal with it? France is saying that they're trying to prevent Mali becoming a terrorist state. So you've got to do something, haven't you? And isn't the military operation the right thing to do?
Well, what's really unusual, but really disturbing right now, is that without any question, without any really debate in foreign policy circles, countries like the United States, the UK, and France are now militarily active in the African theater in a very deep fashion, and this is very disturbing. You know, what you see here is it's not politically tenable for the US or for British to intervene directly militarily. So they've had France come and run point on this operation, yet the US is offering technical support and the UK is offering air transport support for this operation. What we're seeing, Bill, is the world police here, and what they're doing is protecting corporate interests in Africa. There's a British Franco gold mining industry in a country like Mali, and they're protecting that. And this is a direct reflection of stated foreign policy directives in US AFRICOM documents. That's the African Central Command Directive. And the purpose of AFRICOM is to evict China's influence from the continent. And if the British and the French are only offering a 20-80 split to Mali for their gold business, I'm sure China would probably offer a better deal and give them infrastructure. So this is about keeping China out of Africa in the larger scope.
What about the people, though, in Mali itself, the Tuareg people? Now, they've been seeking self-determination for decades. What role are they playing here? Because obviously there are a lot of Islamist extremists coming in from Mali, and not all of this is necessarily homegrown, or is it? Are the Tuaregs now, in some ways, joining up with these extremists?
Well, you know, you only have to look at the late days of the overthrow of the Gaddafi regime in Libya, and the Tuaregs were effectively allied with Muammar Gaddafi's regime. They were to recognize Gaddafi, and perhaps gave safe haven to his son Saif for a brief period of time before he was turned back over to the new government in Libya. Now, they are, again, we have this self-determination issue with a group of people that cross over many different borders. You can also compare the Tuaregs to, let's say, the Kurds in Central Asia, in the Middle East. There are people without a sort of nation state. But what we definitely have is we have Western intelligence and Western military intelligence operations that are intermingled with some of these Al-Qaeda groups, particularly the ones out of Libya, and also this one out of Algeria. And the West is not happy with Algeria's stance with Libya because they took an opposition to NATO's Operation Libya because Algeria felt that it would become a hotbed for Islamic extremism. And that's exactly what happened. So there are people in like the Brookings Institute think tanks in Washington that would want to see the Algerian government collapse. So maybe Algeria is next on the list in terms of destabilization as far as central planning goes in Washington.
Patrick, thank you very much indeed. Geopolitical analyst Patrick Henningsen joining me live there from Beirut.